In this concluding episode of our series, The World After Coronavirus, I have the great pleasure of having with me today the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon. And I'm going to ask him what he would like the future of the United Nations to look like in the world after COVID.
The UN has a unique opportunity to steer the construction of a more healthy, sustainable, and inclusive and peaceful world after COVID-19. And this is a global responsibility as well as a wish of the global citizens. In fact, COVID-19 has, in a matter of a few months, upended our entire globalized world. Our economies, politics, systems of labor, and interpersonal relationship are entirely different than they were at the start of 2020. This pandemic has ushered in untold collective suffering all around the world. At the same time, pandemic's secondary crises are deepening, and the ongoing widespread societal disruptions are amplifying existing inequalities in healthcare, labor, education, housing, food, gender, and other key areas. The bottom line is that our recovery from this pandemic must guide us to a more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient future. It must be more inclusive to ensure that no one is left behind.
Any thoughts on the state of multilateralism, of international cooperation, which we seem not to have seen the way we would have wanted to see?
I firmly believe that the UN still remains the international community's beacon of hope for responding to pandemics, building peace, resolving regional and global conflicts, and achieving sustainable development goals, and caring our planet and humanity by implementing Paris Climate Change Agreement. At the moment, unfortunately, it seems the world is plagued by unprecedented problems, not only virus. The UN must leverage its unique strength and convening power under the banner of a reinvigorated multilateralism to build back better and build back greener. Unfortunately, we are living in a world where multilateralism, symbolized and represented by the United Nations, is under serious attack, serious threat. Attacked by major powers, including the United States, unfortunately. I think global power like the United States must show their global leadership. This is extremely necessary.
In your period itself, the United Nations and you alerted the world to the threat of possible pandemics. And yet when this happened, in some ways, it caught the world by surprise.
Almost all the crises like a virus attack, or these come without warning. So we must always be ready to guard against this kind of surprise threat and attacks by virus and whatever it may be. Then we should have all global governance system always ready, stand by. We need the resources. We need a political will. I think most importantly, political will is very important. Then coordination. Of course, when this COVID-19 happened, there was a totally lack of communications and coordination, starting from a big country like the United States and China, and even WHO was not fully ready. They were not ready in terms of systematic control. At the beginning of this, I telephoned to WHO Director General Tedros, look, this seems to be a very serious issue. It may be very difficult for WHO alone to handle this one. So why don't you ask the Secretary General of the United Nations and mobilize the full power and resources of the UN and the major powers like the United States and European Union? Somehow, unfortunately, this has not been the case until today. Now, still, WHO is really, they have been working heroically, and there are many heroic medical peoples. But still, when every leader they have been doing themselves, then it is only the people who suffer. COVID-19 will not be defeated by individualization. Unfortunately, there is a saying that every man for oneself, every man for himself. Europeans and Asians, Americans, I think Latin Americans, they have been doing all on their own without collaborating. I believe that United Nations should be in the center, using WHO as the implementing organization.
When you look to the future, the world after COVID, what gives you hope?
And during my time, we have adopted the two visions. One is Sustainable Development Goals with 17 goals and the Paris Climate Change Agreement. These are, though they may not be perfect, the most ambitious and far-reaching visions the United Nations has presented. Now, I believe that the UN has a generational opportunity to build back better and synergize climate action and steer our planet and humanity towards a more sustainable and equitable future. Now, UN can harness this pandemic as a gateway to a brighter world. To do so, the dignity, health, rights, well-being of all the citizens of the world and our planet, the only planet we have, must guide a bold paradigm shift towards elevated multilateral cooperation, partnership, and solidarity. There are many global challenges, but these global challenges must be addressed with the global solidarity and the coordination and partnership. There is not a single country in the world, or even individual, however one may be rich, however resourceful, powerful in military, then there is nothing which one country can do alone.